Hey, what's up everybody, this is Muth24, and today I've got another anime DVD review. This is the Anime Legends Complete Collection of Cowboy Bebop. This is the remix box set. I do believe there was a DVD release of this when it originally came out, and there was also, I think, a VHS release, where they did like individual volumes, and then they compiled it into this one. The box art here is very simplistic, but I think very fitting for the series. For those who know, it's a very stylized anime, very jazz-driven, very colorful, very artsy. And I think that this just sort of simplistic cover art works to that end. You got the Cowboy Bebop logo there in the middle. You've got Spike, Faye, Jet, and Ed there on the front, the four main characters. And then on the side, it just says Cowboy Bebop. You got Spike again. And then the back, you have a list of everything in this DVD. You have 6 discs. Each of them has 4 or 5 episodes apiece. And then you have some DVD extras. You have a bunch of trailers for a bunch of different Bandai stuff. You have some interviews with the cast members, the English cast members, talking about, their experiences with the series, and I believe it's Faye's voice actress mentions how well received the English dub was, and this, honestly, I do feel is one of the best English dubbed series I've seen out of all the anime I've ever watched. So you have that, you have some commentary, there's a bonus episode, and there are both English and Japanese audio on all the discs. You got a couple screenshots here. They're pretty small. I don't know how well you can see them on the camera there, but got a few shots of the anime there, and then the pretty gutsy, praise there of voted greatest anime of all time. It doesn't say from who. I don't know if that was like Ain't It Cool News or something like that, because with Funimation DVDs, I always put that on the back of who said what about this DVD. But anyways, pretty gutsy statement there, but, I think depending on how much you like the series, definitely could apply. So there's the discs. You have Cowboy Bebop Session 1 with Spike, Session 2, Faye, Session 3, you have Ed, Session 4 is Jet, Session 5, Ed and Ein, and then Session 6, you have all the characters there, with Spike being the most prominent. So, for those who don't know what this series is about, first of all, you must have been living under a rock for the past, decade, because this is one of those series that I've heard so many people talk about, and I never actually watched it all the way through until I got this DVD set earlier this year. I watched a bunch of different episodes on Adult Swim, but never in the correct order, and never back-to-back. So I figured it was finally time to go watch this series, because it is considered a classic, and I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. Basically, Jet and Spike are these 2 bounty hunters who travel across the galaxy looking for different bounties to take on, and eventually, through their sort of misadventures, they come across the characters of Faye and Ed at different points in the series. It's not like they're coming across them at the same time, but through these kind of wacky and zany sidetrack events, they end up joining their team and board the Bebop, and they travel across the galaxy and take on more ambitious bounties because they have more manpower to do that now. Each character brings something different to the table. Spike is a little bit more reliant on his gunplay. He's a little bit more straightforward. Jet is the one who more or less, signs him up for the bounties, gets the info on it, has some old connections to his days as a cop, so he has some friends in the different systems around the galaxies. Faye is kind of, I don't know how to really describe it. She's not really a femme fatale, but she does find ways to take advantage of basically every situation that she comes across. She's kind of selfish, but she's also a very amusing character, very entertaining character. And she's always questioning, at least in the second half of the series, who she really is and how she ended up coming to the point that she is in the series. And she turns out to be a much deeper character than the early episodes let on. Ed is the youngest character of the bunch, and she is kind of this really quirky, random character, but easily my favorite of the bunch. She's really good with computers, really good in hacking into stuff, and just really a fun character overall with some of the random stuff that she spurts out. And so the 4 of them kind of make this ragtag team, sort of like a dysfunctional family, if you will. And they travel across the galaxy and take on all sorts of different bounties. Some of those bounties will take up more than one episode. You'll have some 2-part episodes. And sometimes I feel like those are the best because there's a little bit more development of the characters. Not just the main cast, but also the side characters. For the most part, though, the side characters will only stick to 1 or 2 episodes. You won't have a whole lot of recurring characters, aside from the bounty sideshow thing that they do every few episodes where they're listing off who all the new bounties are. But like I said, for the most part, not a whole lot of the side characters will return. The show is known probably most well, aside from, fans of the characters here, probably most well for its sense of style. It's a very musically driven series, and I think a lot of people remember it for its jazz numbers, and those are really great. But there's also some really good, like, salsa numbers and even some heavy metal stuff, some like 90s techno tunes in there, and some of those are just really great to listen to. The animation style is really good for the time. There's some 3D stuff that they throw in there, but it's done in a way that it doesn't look so out of place. Like when I watched Blue Submarine #6, it was really cool for its time, I'm sure, to have that 3D and the digitally colored characters that are traditionally animated. But when I went back and watched Blue Sub #6, just the 3D models and the hand-drawn stuff looked completely off putting those together. With Cowboy Bebop, they have some 3D models, but they're rendered in such a way that they don't look that weird compared to everything else, or they're off in the distance. And there's only a few times where they do that, so the 3D models are pretty well rendered overall. They don't rely on them too heavily. Every bounty is a little bit different, so you have the series feel like it doesn't get stale. Like, there's always some new adventure that they're going on. And there's always, I think, at least in the second half, a different character that gets the spotlight. And everyone's backstory will be explored in full by the end of the series. You're not necessarily going to have every question answered, but all the ones that are important to the plot and important to who this character is, those will all be answered by the end of the series. Now, the last 2 episodes are a little bit different than the rest. They're way more serious than the rest of the series has been up to that point. And there are some episodes early on that are a little bit more serious than other ones, but for the most part, it's kind of the balance of the dark and gritty crime world of the expanding galaxy, and then the fun, jazzy, upbeat, colorful art style and the fun characters and whatnot, and the goofy situations they get themselves into. The last 2 episodes are very dark and very serious. And it's not to say that I didn't think they were well written, but there's such a shift from the earlier episodes that it feels really off. It doesn't feel like it belongs with the rest of them. And so I really didn't enjoy the conclusion as much as the rest of the series. I felt like the last 3 or 4 episodes before that were doing a really good job of wrapping everything up. It's not to say that I hated the ending. I've seen much worse endings to shows before. But it was a little bit off. And I feel like if they had done some more straight up serious episodes before that, it may have not been quite as much of a clunky transition there. But again, I think that's really my only real complaint with this series, honestly. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's just the style and the characters in the show are they're great fun. And I think not just the fact that it is an anime classic, it's one of those series, that like everyone watches at some point, but it's overall just a fun series, and it's like you can take it seriously and focus on the story, or you can just kind of sit back and just have at it and just go with the flow, and either way it's a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend this series to pretty much anybody, and with that I will see you guys next time.